Welcome to this week's Training on Demand. A little discussion about fire suppression, the process, and then we're going to look at a case study, see if we can build an incident action plan off an actual incident. You know, I spent some time talking about this in a lot of the programs I do because sometimes that we don't really get this all the time. We think that when the tones drop or when the bells hit, that's when the incident just started. We couldn't be further from the truth in a lot of these cases. There is a process that every fire goes through. Now, I can't really put times on everything here because times vary. At some point, a fire starts. After that fire starts, there is some period of time where it's allowed to burn free. Somebody's discovering it, it hasn't tripped a detector, it hasn't done anything yet, and that can be from minutes to hours to days, right? You get these up here in the Northeast, we've had chimney fires where somebody smelled smoke for a couple of days, and behind the mantle and behind the hearth of the fireplace, wood's been charring right along. So there is some point at which the fire starts. Somebody will recognize it, or a detector will sound. Something will go on. But while that's happening, there is what I call, or what somebody calls, the permitted burn time. And that is the fact that, hey, I smell smoke. What is it? Never mind, it'll go away. Oh, go take a look for it, blah, 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 blah. And there's some time that this allows for something to happen. Automatic detection, of course, is the greatest thing in the world. Now, if it's a local detector in your home, it's not going to do anything. Somebody still has to call the fire department. If it's in a commercial building or an automatic fire alarm, then somebody's got to get, that alarm will sound to the fire department and do whatever. Here's where we start. We can start putting times somewhere around now. Alarm handling time. Most alarm handling time in the country today, and I don't know about foreign countries, but in the country today, you should be somewhere around 30, 45 seconds to handle and process this call. Where is it? What is it? Some of the stuff. I'm not talking about giving advanced medical instructions. That's going to take longer. I'm not talking about other pre-arrival instructions. I'm just talking about handling the call and getting the fire department out. 30 to 45 seconds, certainly less than a minute, probably in most cases. What do I call this? What do I, turnout time? What is turnout time? Turnout time varies, right? In a career fire department, should be a minute or less to get out the door, get your gear on and get out the door. Volunteer and on-call departments, turnout time, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, can be longer than that in some cases. But that's a variable that we understand. Now remember that we're on step 5 here. This fire has already been burning. We're 5 steps into this, and some of these have unknown times assigned to them. We're quite a ways down the road here. Clearing the door, getting out, travel time. Travel time is just a wild variable. Inner cities, urban areas, you're talking about, 4 minutes on scene, 4 to 6 minutes on scene. Get out in the rural areas, travel time could be, crazy. Could be crazy. It's very, very far depending on the distances that you're traveling. Here's one that's a big deal. This is something we have direct control over. You notice that, alert time, get out point, and arrival point, we have some control over. But after we arrive, the setup time, how fast can you get your air pack on? Did you put it on the way? How fast can you get tools in your hand? How fast can you get that 1 3/4 line through the front door and up a stairway? That's a training issue. That's something we have a direct control over. That's something that we can do something about on a regular basis. So the goal about talking about all these times is obviously to, time is the enemy of the firefighter. So once you put the attack on, once you start making the attack, How long does it take you to control? Now, this is kind of a strange one. If we're doing everything right, then you could get knocked down control pretty quickly. You can get knocked down pretty quickly. If we're not doing it right, control time can be an issue. I think speed of control time talks about what your plan is, what your tactics are, and all those kinds of things. That relates to how quickly you will control the fire. And then the fire is knocked out, it's blacked out. What's the total time for total extinguishment? I think that's easily set. But that's kind of how this fire thing works, and most of you know this, but we don't break it down to its individual parts. And I think sometimes that can trick us, because we think when we roll out the door that the incident just happened. Well, that's not showing very well. So let me see if I can do something better there. So time equals greater fire, right? So the longer this timeline goes on, you've got more fire. And so obviously the longer it takes, the more dangerous it is. All of those things come into play as we move down this fire suppression timeline. So that's what we wanted to kind of lay some foundation before we talk about the incident. When you arrive on scene, I don't care who you are, what position you're playing. Obviously, this relates to the incident commander. But no matter what position you're playing, you should be thinking about these questions. And they kind of really start right here. Number 1 is there, number 2 is there, and number 3 is over here. So that's where we're starting, is somewhere over in this area. And you see that there's a circular motion to this to keep asking the questions. So what have I got? Where is it going, and what do I need to control it? And this should be a constant process with the incident commander, but I'm also going to give you an example where this may take place with a nozzle person as well. So you were sent to a mattress fire on Main Street in your world. What have you got when you get there? Well, really what you got is probably a bedroom fire. When you talk about all of those things in the fire suppression line that we just looked at, you probably have a bedroom fire. Where is it going? Depending upon construction, if it's a normal wood frame building, this thing's going through the ceilings, it's getting into the walls, it's probably going to be into some void space, an attic or a loft space, depending on what the construction is. And so what do you need to control it? Do you have enough first alarm resources? Do you have the right crew, the right people, the right water, enough hose lines, water supply, all of those things? So what do you need to control it is what you call. So now you recircle back. What have I got now? Well, you do have an attic fire now. It is up in the attic. Where is it going? Well, it's going horizontally across the rest of the building. Well, what do I need to control that? So, if you're not winning almost immediately, if you're not interrupting this process, and trying to interrupt this process right here in this area, where is it going? If you don't get control of that, then this question becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, you're the nozzle person going up the stairs, and you get upstairs on this bedroom fire. What have I got? I got a bedroom fire, and it's spilling out into the hallway. Where is it going? I know it's going to the attic. So I'm going to throw some water pretty quick, try to interrupt this, anti-ventilation, shut a door, whatever you think it is. But if you think it's breached a void space, you're probably already in some trouble. So where is it going? It's going into the attic. What do I need to do to control it? You need adequate water supply, and you probably need somebody to start hooking ceilings and exposing the fire area and doing those kinds of things. So even as an entry-level firefighter going up the stairs, you need to be able to think about this as well as the incident commander. And then we just keep circling. It's a great way to make decisions. It does apply to everybody. And this isn't, this has been around from the National Fire Academy forever. This goes back, 25 plus years, certainly. But it's still valid today. So I think we should think about it. So here we are. We've got a fire situation. We got 4 people here. So let's take a look at, as I look at the amount of fire coming out of that building, and I see that I've got fire all the way down to floor level. How long has it been burning? Our fire suppression timeline is a question we want to do. This is just a snapshot in time, just a moment in time. So, it's not about, we're looking at the building and the fire situation, and we have 4 people here. So, we see a couple of hose lines on the ground. We see one hose line about to be put into operation. What are some of the things that really need to be done here? What are some of the things that we see and might take action? So throwing some water into that space, you can't even get to the door to control it at this point. So you got to throw some water into that space. Flame, knock down the flaming combustion as soon as you can, because it's getting into an area that's beyond us. What could 2 firefighters do pretty safely in this situation? You got 4 people, and I get 2 in and 2 out. I'm trying to talk reality here. I'm trying to talk about things that take place. This looks like a multi-unit building. We can't really gauge the depth of it or what's going on, so we're just going to confine our discussion to these 2 units. Could we, based on conditions, can we get over into this unit right here? Can we get over there with a couple of firefighters? What are the conditions over there? They look pretty good. Now, we haven't popped the door, so we don't know. But at a minimum is probably very little smoke, if any, and very little heat. 2 firefighters can pop that door, scramble in there pretty quickly and pretty safely, and clear that of a primary search right away. Now, we could argue, they should be getting a second line. They should do. I'm just telling you, in real life, that's something that could be done pretty safely, pretty easily, and clear that as it relates to residents. When we talk about, what have I got? Well, you got a fully involved situation, whatever. When we ask the question that we just reviewed, where is it going? I think we've got to draw our attention up there and think about, where is it going? Is it already in an attic space? Is it already in an attic area? And what does that mean to us? How does that change things? When we talk about the attic area of this building, you start looking at this span. You look at this span right here. How long is that? Could that possibly be truss construction? Could that be engineered lumber? Could that be something that's got potential to fail? What's this? Is this a privacy divider, or is this in fact a firewall? Now, in the truest sense of the words, I don't think it's a firewall. It's probably a privacy divider. But is it doing us any good? And I think, yes, it probably is. I don't know how it's attached. I don't know what the construction is there. But it clearly looks like it's providing some separation from the rest of the building. So, a couple things have to take place here. Get some water in the space, knock down the overlapping fire. Consider the fact that you might have some engineered lumber up there, and the fire is definitely in that space. I repeat this often. Truss construction is dangerous. Fire in a truss space is an emergency. So you probably have that. You may want to get a situation, and I'm sure it's the case, but once this fire is knocked down, a little hard to see that. See if I can do something different there. Once that fire is knocked down, somebody right here just inside the doorway should probably hook an inspection hole in the ceiling and get a thermal camera up there and see if we have fire in that space. There's almost no doubt in my mind that we do have fire in that space. Other resources are coming, other people are coming, things are happening, but those are just some considerations that you may want to think about in a scenario like this. Some of the thoughts about what can happen and how quick. Now, depending on the depth of the building, how far back this building goes, could we have savable patients behind closed doors in that building? And the answer is yes. Is there anybody savable in that front room? Probably not. Is there anybody savable behind a closed interior hollow core door? Yeah, possibly there could be. I've actually had that happen. So you need to think about that. We're there for life safety, known life safety. And I think that we can do some work here. But I think recognition of some of what we see, and it's also interesting, I talk about this often, the photographer in this case is in the right position. He can see left and right. He can see pieces of the building. He can see a little bit of the delta side. He's almost at a corner position, or she's almost at a corner position. Can see the crews operating and gets a good snapshot of the roof area and what's going on up in that attic space. So just some thoughts. Take a look at it. It's not absolute, but we could talk about this one for at least an hour, I'm sure. If you got any questions or if you want to leave feedback, please send me an email over to pete@petelam.com. I'd be happy to respond to you and talk about it. Just make sure you put this in the training on demand, the suppression segment, and put that in the subject line, and we'd be happy to respond to you.